Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes. So what we have started is page layout customizations, and what we were the last thing what we were discussing was how to make a field required, right? And there were two things left with all these points, right? How to make a field required from the page layout customizations, and second would be like how we can make add or remove some of the related lists. So what is a related list would be a second thing which we are going to have a discussion on this. Anyways, first of all, let me complete what I have started by yesterday was how to make a field a required one. So we have seen that, right? I think inside candidate object, if I expand first, I have to go to layout first of all. And if I expand and I see the page layout customization, so we could see that there are few of the fields like current CTC or the passport number. Now these are those fields which we have make it mandatory from the page layout customizations, and whereas there are few of the fields like PAN number, expected cities, notice period, and all that, right? Qualifications, these are those fields at the time of creation of them, we have clicked that required checkbox. So when we click it, the required checkbox, so they become a required field in two different places. The first is your page layout, the second is the database table. So typically this red star actually means something which is only mandatory onto a page layout, and a blue dot actually means it is also being mandatory, it's also being a required field on the database table for this particular object, right? So this is what does it means by red star and blue dot, right? Now the one important thing here is to discuss where to select what. That is something which is very important to have a discussion, because see, if there are two techniques to do the same thing, there must be something which differentiate, and which differentiate these two techniques, and there must be something based on which you should be able to take this decision. Because you can make a field required by required checkbox, you can also make it required by the page layout customization. This is a good thing to know, that we can have at least two different techniques to do the same thing. But what is the meaning of knowing two techniques if you don't know where to apply what, right? So I think knowing this concept is important, but knowing where to apply is more important, is even more important to this. All right, let's have that discussion, where. All right, so first of all, let me make this cancel. Yes. So if you remember what I told you, that, if we create a new field, right? If we create a new field, and for example, I would be creating a field, particularly a number field. All right. I'm creating a number field. Let's take this example, and I'm giving the name this as my sample field, for testing, whatever. And then see, I make it required from the required checkbox. I make it required from the required checkbox. I mean, what we have told to do, make this field required from the required checkbox. No, not from the required. I mean, the IDD what we have been shared, what has been mentioned for this field, it should be a required field. And then so what you did is like, when you read कि भैया अपने को इसको required field karna hai. So at the time of creation of this field, you click this required checkbox. And when you go to the next, immediately onto the next page, you can see that there are the names of different profiles on which we wanted this field should be get visible, or should not be visible, should be make hidden. But you don't have any choice over here. And if the document is mentioning one thing, that make the field appear to some of the profiles and make it hidden from, rest all of the other profiles. You don't have this option. You don't have any choice over here. Why? Because that field by default appears to be a mandatory field, right? If you make it required from the required checkbox, if you make it required from the required checkbox, in a default case, the field would appear to every profile, and you cannot simply make a selection over here. So by the way, the first point of discussion over here, I mean, how you are going to decide out of these two techniques, required checkbox page layout customization, what should be selected for what particular scenario. The first point of taking this decision, the first point in this evidences would be like, either we wanted that field to be appear on every profile, or we wanted this field should be appear to some of the particular profiles. If you wanted this field, see, making required is the important clause. मतलब document में ये लिखा हुआ है कि this field should be a required field. If if it has been mentioned, then you have to ask one more question over here. You have to proactively ask one more question over here. What would be that question? Okay, I would make this field required. कोई problem नहीं. Not just one, I know 5 different ways to make a field required, right? So making a field required is all right. It's okay with me. I wanted to ask you one more question. What about the visibility of that field? Are you going to make certain selection in visibility? I mean, do you wanted that this field should be available for all of the users profile, or you are planning for some of the specific profiles, some of the specific set of users where you wanted this field should be appear, and for rest all other profiles, rest for all other users, this should be make hidden. If you wanted to make a selection, then you cannot go with the required checkbox. This is the first point of evidence, right? Make it clear, make it absolutely clear. I'll give you one more point about this. I mean, this is the first point. This is the first point. If they would saying to you that yes, we wanted this to be present with all of the profiles, then go with this only, no problem. बिल्कुल जा सकते हैं हम लोग. When you click this required checkbox, it would automatically be visible to everybody else, right? No problem नहीं है. But if they are saying कि नहीं, there are some of the specific profile on this, we wanted the field should be get appeared, then you cannot go it like this. आप ऐसे नहीं जा सकते फिर. तब आपको इसको यहाँ से हटाना पड़ेगा. Field create करिए. Don't make it required from required checkbox. Go to the next page and select all those specific profile where first of all you wanted this field to be get appeared. Now, for example, I am selecting जैसे कि system admin profile या फिर standard user या platform user profile, right? And then I'll click onto the next button. It will going to land on the layout, whatever. The field would be created, but that field don't appears to be a required field. So what I am going to do in that case, I will apply page layout customization on that field, right? So if you wanted, if the requirement says to you that this field should appear to somebody and shouldn't be appear to somebody else, or this field should appear to a specific profile, then you cannot select that required checkbox. Let me show you something. So now, so based on this, when you wanted to select a particular profile user that this field should be make available for all of them, and and should be make hidden from all others, so you cannot go with required checkbox. You cannot go with required. That was the first thing. Okay. Now there's one more point into this. So selection of profile is one thing. The next is about page layouts. You would be going to learn something called as record types, जो मैं अभी थोड़ी देर पहले आपको दिखा रहा था. So you would be going to learn something called as record types आगे चल के securities में. तो record types basically क्या होता है कि let me give you one example for this. You go to a bank and in the bank they are having so many different types of customers. You are holding a saving account with them. I am holding a current account with them. Somebody else also having probably a gold loan account over there. Somebody comes with a vehicle loan account. Somebody is having some another type of transactions, right? Now let's say bank is having one of the object called as account, or maybe one of the object like customer, right? Now customer have different categories over there. Some of them are like, a saving account customer, current account customer, loan account customer. In loan account, maybe they are having a different bifurcations as well. So there is only one entity called customer. There's only one entity called as account, but it could have several different subdivisions as well. And for that, the user interface should also appear different. For example, अगर सेविंग अकाउंट का यूजर आता है तो उसकी डिटेल्स डालने के बाद में उसका जो यूजर इंटरफेस होता है वो अलग तरह से दिखना चाहिए. अगर एक गोल्ड अकाउंट वाला, गोल्ड लोन वाला या जो भी है, मतलब whenever somebody comes with that specific, that specific type, तो उसका उसका वो इंटरफेस अलग अलग दिखना चाहिए ऐसा. So this is basically something, we obtain. This is something we obtain with record type. This is something we obtain with record type. Let me try to show you something else. और कुछ दिखाना चाहता हूँ. I have worked on so many things with Salesforce. काफी सारी तो ऐसी भी हैं जिसका अब मुझे एक्सेस नहीं रहा, बट काफी सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं जो मैं मतलब साइमल्टेनियसली 2 से 3 प्रोजेक्ट्स में काम करता हूँ मैं. उसकी वजह से मेरे पास काफी सारी चीजें अवेलेबल भी रहती हैं, बिकॉज एवरी प्रोजेक्ट हैव डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ चैलेंजेस एंड ऑल. So when you are having different page layouts, when you are having different record types, and that time, you wanted to select that this field should appear onto this layout and that layout. This field should appear onto this layout. It shouldn't be appear onto other layout. That time also you cannot make it required. You cannot make it required, because if you make it required, right, if you make it required from required checkbox, first thing, you cannot have a selection based on profiles. Next to this, you cannot have a selection based on layouts. See, it is enabled by default. It is enabled. By default, it is enabled. Agar मान के चलो, I was having 2 more layouts over here, 1, 2, and 3. It would be by default checked for every one of them. And I cannot make a selection कि ये field कौन से layout पे land करेगा. नहीं, it is going to be landed, and it is going to be landed on every layout. Why? Because you have make it as what? You have make it as a required by required checkbox. Whereas if you do like, you don't make it required from here, you will get an option to select this field should be visible to which of the profiles, right? For example, I'm selecting sysadmin and CT profile example. And then next, I could even select whether the field should be added to which page. यहाँ पर ये selection आता है आपको कि किस layout में add करना है उसको. For example, I was having 3 more layouts यहाँ पे, 1 और 2. तो I wanted this to be get present onto this. और यहाँ भी नहीं, यहाँ भी नहीं. So this selections, these selections could only come across when you don't have selected required checkbox. अगर आप required कर दोगे, it would by default would appear to every profile. It would by default would appear to all of the layouts. ठीक है, तो this is the main difference between required checkbox and page layout customization से required करना किसी field को. Alright, चलो, इतना कोई नहीं बता सकता आपको. I'm telling you this. People would say I can teach you 5 different ways. I'm also going to teach you 5 different ways to do that. Even 5 different ways भी बता पाएंगे क्या तो पता नहीं. बट उनके बीच का अगर आप स्पेसिफिकेशन पूछो कि यार कहाँ पे कौन सी चीज लगानी है, and they will not going to have an answer for this. ये तो जिसने रियल टाइम पे अच्छा खासा वर्क कर रखा है और उसने मतलब विजुअलाइजेशन पे काफी काम कर रखा है, वही आपको बता सकते हैं. काफी नॉलेज लगता है यहाँ तक पहुंचने के लिए. चलो, आप लोग कम से कम ये है कि अपनी करियर की शुरुआत में ही आप लोग को काफी सारी जानकारी है, काफी सारी चीजें अच्छी डिटेल से पता है. and these you can reflect in your interviews. बट अदरवाइज एक सही बात बताओ, इतना अगर आप सीखते सीखते अगर यहाँ तक पहुंचते, इट वुड बी अ जर्नी, मोर देन 4 to 5 years लगता है इतनी सारी चीजों को इतना डिटेल में जानने के लिए. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. द नेक्स्ट इज वन मोर थिंग विच इज लेफ्ट विद दिस डिस्कशन इज related lists. So what is this related list? Let me try to first of all show you, and then we're going to have a discussion on this. See, if I open any of the account record, when you scroll in the detail page, particularly not on your edit and detail page. So when you scroll it, you can see that it is showing me after this, after displaying me the details of this account record, it is showing me that related to this account, how many contacts, how many opportunities, how many cases are there. Related account, related contacts, related opportunities, and related cases. Then related activities, activity history, related notes and attachment, partners. And this particular section, this particular section, we call this as a related list. We call this as a related list. So this is again something you can customize. For example, I don't require to see open activities, or maybe activity histories, or maybe like partners. So why should we load every time whenever we see a record? Why should we have this onto the page? We can even customize that. How? Just expand the force.com, go with edit layouts. Go with edit layouts. And inside over here, you have to first of all select related lists. When you select this, you would immediately be, come to this. So these are the related list sections. So with related to account, I wanted to see contact, opportunities, cases, open activities. I don't want to see this. I can remove this. I can remove this. I don't want partners. I can remove that as well. You wanted to add something more. I wanted to see related campaigns. I could add that. I wanted to see contracts. I wanted to see entitlements. I wanted to see files. All right. So whatever you want, you can add. What you don't want, you could simply remove them. You could simply remove them. Understood? This is what a related list customizations, right? And once you have done the changes, don't forget to save it. Right? If you don't save it, obviously it is not going to be get committed, right? So this is how we can customize something called as a related list. This can also be done with the page layout customizations, right? So that was all about page layout customization. The next, what we are going to implement would be position object. Position object from the IDD. I would be creating position, and along with all of those fields, I would be creating it from the schema builder. But I'm not going to take it today. Let's take it into the fresh lecture. Let's end a little early by today. That's all, guys. That's all. Yes. Any question you wanted to ask? Let me give you this command. Yeah, please go ahead. Any questions?
Sir, would you please go with the related list again?
Sure, no problem. See, on every, for example, if you go with like contacts, and you open a contact, you can see that related to this contact, what are the opportunities, what are the cases, what are the activities, there's so many lists over here. But I merely don't wanted to see some of them. They are of not use for any purpose with me, right? For example, HTML email status. This is unnecessary is present over here. And we really don't want it, we never have been used email, this particular section. So why should we have this every time whenever I load any contact? Could I customize? Yes, I could do that. How? Just expand the force.com, go with edit layouts. After going edit layout, go to related list sections. When you go to the related list section, you could decide what you wanted to see and what you wanted to remove. So we related to this contact, we wanted to see opportunities, cases, activities we don't want, we can remove. History we can remove. Campaign we can remove. Notes and attachment we want. We would, and HTML we don't want this. So whatever you remove goes to this section. If you want something, you can, if you want work orders, you can just drag and drop it over here like this. You want data integration, just drag and drop it. You don't want them, just remove them. So this is what does, and after this, save it. So this is what does it means by a related list. So what you wanted to see onto detail page, things that are related with this account contact, even with your custom objects as well. You have, because right now we haven't created any relationship yet, right? It would show me the default. See, open activities, activities is the notes and attachment. But let's say related to candidate, we just wanted to see notes and attachment. We don't wanted to see open activities and history. So I'll once again expand force.com, go with edit layout, go with the related list. I don't want activity. I am removing those. Once the changes has been done, when the changes has been done, and you wanted file, I wanted file as well. Let me drag and drop it. And let me quickly save it, right? That's it. So now, along with this candidate onto detail page particularly, I would be going to see notes and attachment in the files. All right, it's clear now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Any other questions? Any other questions?